and then we'll jump and go to Lit's episode on YouTube. So some of the main things that I wanted to cover, let me make sure that we're going live on. Alrighty, so we're live on YouTube, guys. So some of the main things that I wanted to cover were the basics, in the sense of I wanted to talk about what is a 501c3, right? What's the main idea of what we're doing, right? Why are we creating this vehicle for the community? In the case that, of course, if we're not talking about if you're making $20, $30 in hex, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just there's other ways that you can extract the value of that, right? If that's your case. In the case that you've made a little more, maybe you've made 20, 30, 100,000, maybe you've made $1 million. And now we're looking at what's happening with, for example, the God whale and some other whales, that they're having issues even in our ecosystem, extracting some of that value. So then we're trying to organize this legal entity so that in 3, 6, 5 years, you'll be able to use it and receive a portion, or you'll be able to deduct a portion of your gains or your income and then reduce that tax liability. So here we talked about what is a 501c3 organization. And 501c3 organization is a portion of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code and a specific tax category for nonprofit organizations. Organizations that meet Section 501c3 requirements are exempt from federal income tax. Internal Revenue Service recognizes more than 30 types of nonprofit organizations, but only those that qualify for 501c3 status can say that donations made to them are tax deductible. All right, so remember that that's the biggest portion that we're focusing on. That's why we didn't go with the 501c4, so that we don't have to focus on the political side or lobbying. We're focused more on the educational side. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So here it mentions Section 501c3 is a portion of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code and a specific tax category for nonprofit organizations. 501c3 organization must pay their employees fair market value wages. Nonprofit organization must not deviate from its purpose or mission to receive its favorable tax treatment, which for the PulseChain Foundation is going to be as an educational private foundation, right? So we're going to use, in some cases, we're going to try to do this. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm going to try to get some type of government grants that we can use for educational purposes, right? So it's going to be fun to see if we can receive some type of government funding, and then we can use those same fundings for pushing our costs, right? Pushing PulseChain awareness, adoption for Pulse, Hex, and our brand. So here mentions a group must operate exclusively for one of certain purposes to be considered a charitable organization by the IRS. A charitable, religious, educational, scientific, literary, testing for public safety, fostering national or international amateur sports competition, or preventing cruelty to children or animals. The IRS further defines charitable activities as relief of the poor, the distressed, or the underprivileged, advancement of religion, advancement of education or science, which is us, erecting, maintaining public buildings, monuments, or works, lessening the burdens of government, lessening neighborhood tensions, eliminating prejudice and discrimination, defending human and civil rights, secure by law, and combating community deterioration and juvenile delinquency. An organization must not be serving any private interest to be tax exempt under Section 501c3. This includes the interests of the creator, the creator's family, shareholders of the organization, other designated individuals, other persons controlled by private interest. None of the net earnings of the organization can be used to benefit any private shareholder or individual, right? So we have to remember that we're going to use this just for the tax deduction portion. We're going to use this for the educational purposes, and that's how we're going to get some benefits for the community. A 501c3 organization is also forbidden from using its activities to influence legislation in a substantial way, including participating in any campaign activities to support or deny any particular political candidate. It's typically not permitted to engage in lobbying except in instances where its expenditures are below a certain amount. People employed by the organization must be paid reasonable compensation, which is based on the fair market value that the job functions require. An organization is also required to remain true to its funding purposes to stay tax exempt under Section 501c3, so meaning that we need to focus only on education for crypto, education for blockchain, education for PulseChain, and then creating our workshops. We'll use that also, like I said in the previous space that didn't get recorded, we'll use that to continue to what the captain, what SJ are doing with the PulseChain tour. We'll help with as much as possible, because the main idea is just that. It's just to grow the community, grow the education portion, create awareness for Pulse, create awareness for Hex, and then obviously have a little bit of benefit whenever you guys make your gains, so you can have a portion of those gains tax exempt. I know that on our side, we've talked about some tax havens that are out there. Some people just don't want to go there, right? They don't want to go to Puerto Rico. They might not want to go to Portugal. They might not want to go here, there. So this is another option if you're located in the U.S. Here mentioned some unrelated business income is allowed for a 501c3 organization, but the tax-exempt charity may not receive substantial income from unrelated business operations. The majority of the firm's efforts must go towards its exempt purpose as a nonprofit organization. Any unrelated business from sales of merchandise or rental properties must be limited, or the organization could lose its 501c3 status. So I know that at one point we were talking about creating some merchandise to start the crowdfund, but I noticed that this is what's going to happen. So I guess as long as we use the funds directly to just everything related to the educational portion, we still be able to. Organizations that meet the requirements of Section 501c3 are exempt from federal income tax, but they are required to withhold federal income tax from their employees' paychecks, as well as withhold any paid Social Security and Medicare taxes. Organizations that meet the 501c3 tax category requirements can be classified into a private foundation or public charities. Between these two categories is how they get their financial support. A public charity is a nonprofit organization that may qualify for certain tax deductions that can help them lower their taxable income. The total amount of donations to a tax-exempt public charity that an individual can claim is generally limited to 60% of their adjusted gross income as of 2023, but there's no limitation on donations to qualified charitable organizations. Okay, so that's us. Private foundation is typically held by an individual, a family, or corporation, and it obtains most of its income from a small group of donors. Private foundations are subject to stricter rules and regulations than public charities. Then another thing that I wanted to cover, and I hope that someone can take advantage of this, is when we were talking about the benefits of registering an LLC. And here it mentions a limited liability company is an entity that is separate and apart from its owners with its own rights, responsibilities, and liabilities. This means that an LLC can file a lawsuit or be sued in its own name. The company can also buy, own, and use its own real or personal property, make its own contracts and guarantees, lend money, and invest funds. Those who do business with a limited liability company must look to the company to satisfy any obligations owed to them, and not to the LLC's members or managers. Because an LLC is a separate entity, the owners of the company have limited liability. This is one of the most important benefits to operating as a limited liability company. Limited liability means that the individual assets of LLC members cannot be used to satisfy the LLC debts and obligations A member's risk of loss is limited to the amount that the member invests in the business. Then the other thing that I covered, and I want to go through real quick, is like I said, Liz going in like 10, so we'll jump over there, is a CRT or charitable remainder trust. Okay, so for those of you that are already thinking about retirement or just thinking about other different tools, the two of them that we're going to cover is the charitable lead trust, so CLT, and you can use a charitable lead trust, a type of irrevocable trust, to make a series of payments. For example, an annuity of the same amount each year to a charitable organization. At some point in the future, the remaining property in the trust reverts back to you, transfers to someone else that you specify, such as your spouse or your child. Then there's the CRT, which is a charitable remainder trust. When you place property in a CRT, your beneficiary receives specified amounts of money regularly for a period of time. After that period of time has elapsed, whatever is left over goes to the charity. Instead of some finite period of time, you can set up a charitable remainder trust to cover the life of your beneficiary. When the beneficiary dies, the payment ends at that point. Many people set themselves up as the beneficiaries. Or remember that you can set up a CRT and then you're the trustee because you're setting it up, and then you're the beneficiary because you're receiving the payments. You can also specify your spouse, children, or someone else to receive those payments. So that's a good thing in the cases that you might have already received a big chunk in payments to HECS, and then you're looking for other alternatives. Try to look into CRTs. When you specify anyone other than your spouse or yourself to receive the payments from the trust, gift taxes must most likely apply. All right, so I think we're gonna leave it at that. We covered LLCs, CRTs, the main benefits of a 501c3, the main idea of why we were registering the foundation here for the Hexagons for Pulse. Some of us who wanted to make sure that once we get to that retirement age, right, that or we're going to cash out when the t-shirts are at their term, right, that we have some places that we can go. And some of us, like I said, we've done the whole situation of looking up into going to Puerto Rico, or looking up into going into other states like maybe Texas, where it doesn't have a state tax. But then again, I still think that some of us, I don't know if this applies to you, but some of us, I think that we're going to need 2, 3, 5 different off-ramps, if that makes sense. Some of us, we might have done really, really well in HECS in the last 4 years. And we know that even at these price points, so even if we can't control it, HECS goes to 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, $1, we might already have a large amount of money that we know that we're going to need places to go. And I'm not waiting for anyone. So I want to make sure that there's some tools out there for me to cash out at the moment that I need to, instead of waiting for something else to happen or someone else to come and save me and hold me by the hand and tell me that Jamie Dimon is our savior and he's going to pay us 0.3%, 0.003 or something on a high yield money market. So on our side, we're going to focus on what we can control. We're going to focus on how Richard always tells us, if you want something, you need to go out and build it. So that's what we did. We went ahead and we built a tax strategy for the Hexagons, because we're not seeing it. We're seeing that someone tells us, oh, don't worry, we're going to create this liquidity pool, we're going to create this other platform, we're going to create this other activity. And then what we need to do is just make sure that there are the right tools, the right vehicles for us to extract our value whenever it's a due time, right? So obviously we're not talking about dumping the markets, we're not talking about selling without limit orders or just wrecking the charts. So we're just saying doing it properly, and then that way you can extract your value in a smart way, right? We're not just saying, all right, I made all this money and now I'm wrecked because I didn't do it the right way. So guys, I just wanted to do a super quick one. Like I said, the previous one was maybe like 25 minutes, but then I noticed that I was talking through the other account, so it wasn't recording, and it didn't record it on Twitter, and it didn't record it on YouTube. But I want to make sure that I was putting out all this information for you guys, because I think that this is going to be a great tool for everyone. Those of you that saw, if you are able to deduct in a private charity up to 30% of your income, or if we do public, you could do up to 60% of your income. So that's something that a lot of people are not thinking. It seems that every time that we're talking about this, we're talking about going to Puerto Rico, going here, going there, and then it's more of an inconvenience. When at that time, you would be able to donate to a registered 501c3 nonprofit. It would be dedicated into Pulse. You would know where the funds are going, because then the marketing, the education, and everything goes into you, or your bags, basically. At the same time, you are getting the tax deduction, which is the reason that we're waiting, because we want to make sure that every single dollar that comes in to us, it's as a benefit to the community. We don't want this to be just another cash grab, and then you know how that goes. So we want to make sure that we're providing tools for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so guys, I guess if you guys have questions, I can bring someone up here if you guys want to ask some. If not, like I said, I want to keep it very brief. Lid is going up here now. He's going to talk to RH Max. We're going to be having weekly talks through the PulseChain Foundation. That way, anyone that has questions, if someone wants to come in with projects, if someone wants to talk to us, we'll be able to do that as well. And then we can share the good word, right? Share the good word of PulseChain, share the good word of all these different platforms and projects that are coming out, and they're building community. They're doing everything that we've been doing now for 4 years for Hex, for Pulse, and following everything that Richard has taught us in the last, in my case, 6.5 years, about to be 7 here in May. So it's insane for me to think that how time flies. But we're doing all this stuff for the boss. We see this attacks from the SEC. We noticed that the crypto community is just not standing up. Now at least we saw Ben, kind of give us a little bit of a boost there. So like I said yesterday, when I was talking to the cap, I respect everyone's opinion in the community, but I'm going to wait for Ben at least 3 months, 2 months for me to see, all right, well, sure. You know what? Let's go. Ben is our guy. He's here for good. Because I was here. So I saw him talk to Richard in 2019. I saw him talk to him in 2020. I saw him talk to Nicole in 2022. And it's like, the guy still doesn't know Hex, doesn't know T-shirts. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. In my case, I'll give him a 6th, 7th try after, wrecking people in 2018 with the things he was doing with Justin Sun and Tron and all this other flippening. But that's not here nor there. We're all here about growing our community and being positive. So that's what we're going to focus on. So guys, we're going to go in now and roll into Lit and watch the interview with RH Max. So like I said, he's doing the Lit Think Tanks. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Godfather, Random Guy, Marcovelli. This is for our community. So I know that for now, it might not look like it's needed. I might only have $10 in gains, $100 in gains. But some of us have already in our 3rd, 4th, 5th cycle of crypto, we are looking for these tools. And you might need them in the next cycle, right? You might be setting yourself up now in a really good way, and then you make a ton of gains, and then in 2 years, you're like, all right, well, how do I extract $1 million without wrecking myself to 5-10% slippage and leaving $50,000 or $100,000 on the table, right? So we want to make sure that we do all that stuff smart. So thank you so much again, family. And like I always say, catch us on the next one, and we'll see you on the block.